In this video, we will analyze Real Madrid's victory over Benfica. Real Madrid managed to avenge their previous defeat against Benfica in the UCL League phase that took place at the end of January. Playing away at Stadio da Luz, Álvaro Arbeloa's squad secured a narrow 0-1 win. In fact, this second meeting between Benfica and Real Madrid attracted more attention because of the drama that occurred during the match. One of the Benfica players was suspected of making racist remarks toward Real Madrid player Vinicius Jr. Looking at the statistics, both Benfica and Real Madrid appeared to play more passively compared to their first meeting, as recorded by SG. Even so, the tactical battle between José Mourinho and Álvaro Arbeloa was quite interesting to watch. In this match, Arbeloa, as the student, managed to find a solution to contain Mourinho's style of play. Through Vinicius's only goal, Arbeloa finally managed to defeat his mentor. So, curious about how the match unfolded from a tactical perspective? Let's discuss it together. On paper, José Mourinho used a 4-2-3-1 formation. The lineup was mostly the same as in the first meeting, with the difference that this time Benfica was reinforced by Rafa Silva. Meanwhile, Arbeloa used a different formation from the previous match. On paper, Madrid played with a 4-4-2 system, where Bellingham, Masantono, and Asensio were no longer in the lineup. Instead, at the back, he paired Rudiger with Huijsen. The trend of Alexander-Arnold starting at right back allowed Valverde to return to his natural position in midfield. Although playing with a 4-4-2 formation on paper, Real Madrid used several build-up variations in this match. Vinicius, who was positioned as a striker, was tasked with maintaining maximum width on the left wing. In that area, Carreras was also visible. The defensive shape looked like 4 defenders and 4 midfielders on one side, with 2 strikers spread out. When the ball was moved to the left, Valverde, who played as a winger, and Güler also shifted to that side. This made the area crowded, and Benfica's players automatically followed the movement of the ball. On the right side, Trent stayed wide to maintain width.
At the back, Tchouaméni dropped between the 2 center-backs. The purpose of this build-up pattern was to create overloads on the wing. Madrid lured Benfica's players to shift to one side and then switched play to the opposite side. In this moment, Benfica's 4-4-2 defense had to shift quickly to the right when the ball was at Trent's feet and passed to Güler. This separation for switching play was visible when there were 4 players on the left and 2 on the right. Coam acted as the lone connector in the middle. He sometimes functioned as a switch player to shift Benfica's compact defense. Arbeloa himself emphasized prioritizing players' abilities rather than forcing a rigid system. Trent, who has high passing accuracy, was utilized effectively. His presence made it easier for Madrid to execute switch play schemes, forcing Benfica's 4-4-2 defense to shift quickly. From this switch play pattern, Madrid created a chance through Carreras on the left side. He moved the ball to the center, then Güler passed it to Trent in the right half space. The former Liverpool player delivered a through pass to the overlapping Valverde. Valverde's cross was blocked by a Benfica player but fell to Vinicius, although his shot went wide. Benfica's defense was very compact, so most switches were mainly to shift their shape. The goal of switching was to create space for players on the far side. Here, Güler initiated a switch for Carreras to progress forward. However, Mourinho made this tactic more difficult by changing his defensive shape into a back 5. Benfica's left winger dropped to mark the far side player. Besides switching, Madrid also tried to break through using wing overloads. In advanced areas, Carreras pushed higher to create wide overloads with Camavinga, Vini, or Huijsen. Carreras was given more attacking freedom. With Vini staying wide, he often underlapped into the half space to provide support. Speaking of attack, in this match, Real Madrid relied heavily on the duo of Kylian Mbappé and Vinicius Jr. Arbeloa did not restrict their movement or individual actions. In several moments, both Vini and Mbappé combined well and frequently swapped positions.
In the early minutes, Vini was seen occupying the wide area on the left more often, staying far from Mbappé. However, approaching the middle of the half, Vini began to swap positions more frequently with Mbappé. In several moments, the Brazilian player moved into central areas while Mbappé drifted wide to the left. At this stage, Vini was also seen operating closer to Mbappé, making it easier for them to play combination football. This showed that the Mbappe-Vinicius partnership was starting to produce positive results for Real Madrid. Unfortunately, there were no other players providing sufficient support. The Mbappe-Vini combination appeared again in this moment. Sadly, Mbappe's shot after receiving a pass from Fini went wide over Anatoly Trubin's goal. The Mbappe-Vini duo finally broke the deadlock in the second half when Vini managed to put his name on the scoresheet. It started with a quick free kick taken by Camavinga, which created a 3-versus-3 situation in Benfica's defensive area. Mbappe laid the ball off to Vini, who moved into the left area. After one touch, Vini spotted the shooting angle and decided to release a curling shot from a fairly tight angle. The ball was far beyond Trubin's reach and eventually went into the net, making it 0-1. As mentioned earlier, Real Madrid and Benfica tended to play more cautiously compared to their first meeting in the league phase. This cautious approach ultimately prevented Benfica from creating many chances in Madrid's defensive area. Rest defense had been Arbeloa's main problem in the first meeting, where Madrid's backline was often unprepared when Benfica launched counterattacks. This moment was one example. After losing possession and facing a counterattack, Madrid's rest defense structure was still messy. In the next moment, a goal was created because Scholl Delop was left unmarked. In this playoff match, Madrid's rest defense looked much more organized. For example, when Benfica were ready to counterattack, Madrid's defense had already formed a symmetrical three-man structure. The overall composition was also better, especially with Rudiger being more aggressive and physical. The presence of Camavinga in midfield also greatly helped Tchouaméni. It made Madrid's midfield physically stronger compared to before when Tchouaméni was deployed alone. In several moments, Camavinga and Tchouaméni stood side by side, giving Madrid a stronger first defensive filter in midfield. Compare this with the first meeting, where there was usually only one midfielder acting as Madrid's defensive filter in the center. In some moments, Camavinga was indeed accompanied by another midfielder. However, at that time, Tchouaméni was partnered with Arda Güler, whose physical attributes are below those of Camavinga. The compact 4-4-2 defensive structure also made it difficult for Benfica's players to exploit Madrid's defense. Eventually, the home side had no choice but to try their luck with long-range shots. Unfortunately, all of those efforts failed, either missing the target or being blocked by Madrid players. Until the final whistle, no more goals were scored. Madrid managed to avenge their previous defeat and place one foot in the round of 16. The second leg will be held at Santiago Bernabéu on February 26, 2026.